DATV, and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters present Meet the Candidates, your chance to learn about the candidates running for office in the November election.
Hi, I'm Patty Skilkin. I'm president of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton Area, and I am here today talking to candidates for the Riverside City Council. We're going to start, there are actually 5 candidates running. We have 3 of them with us today. The top 2 vote getters will be the winners. We're going to start by giving each of our candidates here 2 minutes to make an opening statement. This is your time to say whatever you want. You can talk about your credentials, why you want the job, but this is a chance for the voters to get to know who you are. And Bev, I'm going to start with you. You've got 2 minutes to talk to the voters.
Well, I've lived in Riverside all my life, and I've been on several committees, former loss prevention officer for 10 years, and I was also a council member for 8 years. I did Citizens on Patrol, assisting the Riverside Police Department, and I was on the secretary for CDC, Avondale Community Development Corporation, and I was on the zoning board too. I care about the city and where it's going, and we need to improve police protection and deal with the drug issues. I'd like to see a drug-free city. Some may laugh about that, but it's not impossible. We need to push the curfew because I've seen children out there all hours of the night. And I think the main thing, there is a drug problem in all the cities, and I'd like to see it dealt with a lot.
Thank you, Bev.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, you're next. You have 2 minutes to speak to the voters.
My name is Ken Curp. I'm currently on the council. I've been on the council in the past. I'm a retired manager and program manager from NCR. I have a couple of degrees in business from Wright State University. I have additional coursework in urban economics. I previously was on the Montgomery County Board of Zoning Appeals. I've been on a number of boards and commissions in the community. I'm running because I have a continued interest in working with the city's budgeting and financing, areas that we've been working to improve during the last 4 years, and work that still needs to be done. I think it's important for people such as myself to be able to demonstrate listening skills, being out in the community and learning from the citizens what their issues are and carrying that to the council and dealing with those issues both from a direction point of view and also from a financing point of view. I believe in a customer service approach to handling municipal government issues. And I think those are the kinds of attributes that we need to see in council members, and those are the qualities and strengths that I bring to the position.
Thank you. Steve, your turn. 2 minutes to talk to the voters.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters for having this forum for us. My name's Steve Fullencamp. I've been on council for 5.5 years, and I've worked hard to find and resolve problems and to provide solutions to help the city move forward. I believe in the 5 P's of governing here. First is problem solving. You got to be inquisitive. You got to do your research, and you got to ask questions. You got to evaluate their answers, and you've got to iterate this process till you figure out what's going on. You got to be persistent. Don't ever give up. When someone says not to do something, it's probably a good idea to maybe do it anyway. You got to be patient, and the definition of patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Sometimes I struggle with this one, but it goes to the 4th P, which is my passion. I love what I'm doing. I love working with the city residents and with the city staff, and I want to continue this. And the last thing is people. This is all about making Riverside a better place to live. It's about engaging with the people in our community to help solve their problems and understand what the need is and what they want in the future. I believe in continuous improvement. You're allowed to make a mistake, but I want you to learn from it, and I expect that both from council and staff. I believe strongly that effectiveness plus efficiency equals excellence, and I want excellence for our city, and that's what I'm going to continue to work for, and that's why I believe I'm a good candidate for the Riverside City Council.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, now we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of our discussion. I'm going to start with Ken. Ken, there's a lot of talk about city and county mergers. How do you feel about that? Do you think there are benefits to the citizens of Riverside?
In the current discussion is pretty much limited to the City of Dayton and Montgomery County administrative management functions, so that would not include the City of Riverside. However, Riverside has a history of working with other local jurisdictions to share services and help reduce the cost to our residents and our businesses. For example, years ago, the City of Riverside was one of the first communities to come on board with the regional dispatch center. A number of cities chose not to join the dispatch center. Riverside was one of the first cities to join. Up until just recently, the City of Riverside has contracted with the City of Dayton to handle the trash hauling. And so the point here is that you can do these things without having a formal merger of the entities. And Riverside has a history of doing that in order to try and save money for our citizens.
Thank you. Stephen, same question. How do you feel about the possibility of mergers between cities and counties?
As Mr. Curp mentioned, we do have a history of working with other municipalities and currently are doing so. We're starting to have a cooperative agreement with the city of Trotwood to do some of our road work, where we have labor sharing agreement in place to minimize the cost of some of our street repair. The current plan is that Commissioner Foley has put forth is I don't know, there's not enough specifics for me to really state whether this is a good idea or not, but the sharing of cost, and it could go up and down all the services we offer in terms of fire, police, road work, and maybe even some administrative things. Maybe there is a way that we can work together with other municipalities to reduce the cost. But we always have to keep in mind we have to remain effective, and we have to make sure that the people that are working for our city are dedicated to doing the right thing for our city versus maybe becoming a little distracted into other areas. So that's one of my major concerns about mergers is you do lose some control of your local focus, but as to the extent that it can save us some money and continue to get quality services, I'll at least consider it and think about it going into the future.
Thank you. Bev, your turn, same question.
Well, I'm not sure it'd be a good idea because a lot of costs would go up, probably wanting to raise taxes, and the merger is not for the city of Riverside, and it was a little hard to decide because there was not enough information to go by.
Okie doke, thank you. Steve, we're going to start with you. What do you think the residents of Riverside are most concerned about right now?
Right now, I think it's all about roads. I think our infrastructure is in disrepair. We've not had a long-term plan to address the roads in our city. Within the last 2 or 3 years, I worked with staff, and we now have a long-term plan for major thoroughfare improvement that will enable us to garner a lot more grant money to offset the cost of the residents and reduce the cost and maybe avoid a tax increase. the residential streets are just as important, and they're going into disrepair too, and that's something we're going to have to work on the next year or so, is to put together a plan for our residential streets and how we pay for those to make sure that our infrastructure, the roads and the sidewalks are in a good repair, and so that's those are probably the top things that people talk about. Ms. Campbell also talked about some of the drug problems in the neighborhoods, and that's another issue that seems to be a hot button for many. So policing, and I'm going to propose, assuming that I can get elected, that we become an accredited police department through CALEA within the next couple of years. Thanks.
Thank you. Bev, same thing. What do you think the citizens of Riverside are most worried about right now?
The drug problem. It's really bad out there. There's been a few houses blown up. There's been drive-by shootings and shootings for other reasons. It's just not safe out there, and there's been some house invasions. And I think they need to crack down on them really hard and try to get a crime-free city or a crime-free drug area. Kids out half the night. They need to push that curfew. When I was on the council, it took me 8 years to get that curfew out there. So, and I'm not seeing it pushed enough. And it's just a mess.
Thank you.
And as far as the roads, there is roads that do need fixed. They could still do that, but right now they need to focus on the problem we really have, because it's gonna just cause more crime out there if we don't clean up the drug problem.
Thank you, Bev. Ken, what do you have to contribute to this conversation?
Well, I think the major issue for our residents is the deterioration of the neighborhoods themselves. We have well over 120 vacant houses in the neighborhood, in the Riverside neighborhoods. Those contribute to blight and continued deterioration of those neighborhoods. They adversely affect the quality of life in those neighborhoods. Part of that is residential streets. When we don't, as a city, put emphasis on improving the appearance of those streets through major repair and that sort of thing, then there's less of an importance that the residents take on maintaining their property. We recently were given statistics on zoning code enforcement over the previous year, and what we saw in there was that certainly we paid a lot of attention to dealing with high grass and noxious weeds on vacant properties. But when we take a look at other statistics there, what we found was that we weren't really dealing with housing maintenance issues that help or contribute to the deterioration of the housing stock in the neighborhoods. And so we have to take care of those types of issues. And when we do, that will have a positive impact on reducing some of the crime problems, because we'll fill those houses with people who want to come and live here. And so we need to start addressing those things that make us attractive to outsiders.
Thank you. Bev, you're going to get the next question first. If you're elected, what would your top 3 pet projects be? The 3 things that would be mostly in your head and in your heart that you want to deal with?
Crime, drugs, racing up and down the roads. I'd like to see I know some of the police officers, they have them go out and ticket houses for high grass and stuff that belongs to the zoning people. And I think the police need to do police work, the zoning need to do the zoning. And as far as roads, yeah, they do need fixed, some of them. And when I had left there, they were doing priority, the worst ones first, taking care of it. So I don't know where they're at now, but I just think the main thing is the drugs and cleaning up the crime out there. and trying to get to, because you're not going to get any businesses to move to Riverside until you get it safe for them. And clean it up, clean up the empty houses, get that out of the way, because nobody's going to want to put a business out here if we have this problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ken, what's your big three?
Well, I think number one would be planning, long-range planning for the community. This council and administration does not do long-range planning. Well, we do long-range planning for some isolated things, but we don't do long-range planning for the community as a whole, and integrate all those individual issues into one large comprehensive plan to help move the community forward. I mean, you wouldn't go on a vacation without having an awareness, a roadmap of where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. And that's one of the things that this city needs. Secondly, I mentioned neighborhood improvements earlier. That's a second item that is on my list, and that is to deal with neighborhood improvements and get out there and provide some assistance programs to encourage people to improve the appearance of their properties. And the third thing would be safety and drug issues, especially neighborhood safety. We have a lot of aging population in our community, and they're just as concerned about lesser crimes as some people are about drugs. And so we need to deal with those issues too, because when somebody breaks into your shed and steals some of your valuables, that's an important issue to you, even if there's no drug issue in your particular neighborhood. And so we need to take a look at how to do more sharing of services in those neighborhoods, police services, safety services, getting into the neighborhoods, more of a neighborhood policing type of model. And that would provide a lot of safety, improved sense of safety for our citizens. So those are my three key areas.
Thank you. Steve, we need to hear your three now.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes to tell us.
Right, in no particular order. I think our infrastructure presents us with some big issues cost-wise going forward. Again, no long-term planning has put us in this position. Hopefully we've addressed our thoroughfare issues, and we'll continue to implement that going forward. So let's step into the local roads, local streets, residential streets arena, and let's address that. Secondly, economic development. We are still struggling to bring jobs into our city and amenities for our residents to use. We have some opportunities. We are at the gateway to the Air Force Museum and the base. We are the only community that touches Wright-Patterson. So we do have to learn how to take advantage of that. We do have some unique restaurants coming to our city, and they do provide some of this, but shopping, professional buildings with doctors and dentists and specialists. These are things that are really important. And third is quality service to our residents. I firmly believe that we can do a better job. We can do a better job serving our residents, and whether it's our police department, our service department, our fire, EMS, or our administration. I want the residents to know that when they come to us, that they're going to get professional and quality service from us. And some of the feedback I hear sometimes, I wonder. So that's going to be a push, is to really to move us forward in that regard.
Thank you. We're getting to the close of our visit here. You're each going to get 2 minutes to tell the voters whatever it is you want to tell them and why you think they should vote for you. Ken, we're going to start with you. You have 2 minutes to speak to the voters.
This is my second time around on the council. Between my first time and second time, I sat back and watched what was going on and listening to comments from people in the community. And what I learned was that in those 4 years that I was gone, there was really not much going on with the council. And that's because largely there was no planning, no long-range planning, no sitting down and deciding, this is what the community needs and this is how we're going to go about providing and answering to those needs. I want to see us engage more in that area because we're still not doing it as much as I've tried to push for that. We finally got money budgeted for that this year, and it never got done, and it's been put off into next year. We can't continue to put things off. We can't continue to listen to excuses. We become a city of excuses. When citizens call in, they get excuses and not so much the kind of service that I'd like to see us provide for them. And so we just need to sit down and get engaged in doing those things. I think my professional career, my years of service in this community, and my years of service on the council provide me with the background and the qualifications to provide leadership in that area. And so I'm asking for the vote of the citizens of our community to return me to the council so that I can work for the citizens and get these things done.
Thank you. Steve, your turn, 2 minutes.
Thank you. People who have worked with me know that I'm a boots on the ground kind of guy. If a resident calls me, I reach out to them and I help them solve the problems. I expect that from our city too, and so to engage with these folks has been the most satisfying part of my job from my perspective. I love working in the city. I love dealing with the people, even when sometimes we're juggernaut or loggerheads with each other. I love talking to them, getting their ideas. I'll put my list of accomplishments over the last 5 years up against anybody on this council at this point in time. I've done some things, I've done some positive things, I've made some changes on things that weren't being addressed properly, and I strongly believe that I'm going to continue doing this going forward. I'm a problem solver, I'm an analytical kind of guy. I see problems and I look for ways to make things better. I want our city to grow in a way that it's sustainable and it has a meaningful impact on the quality of life for the people in our city. And however we can do it is I'm willing to give it a shot. Long-term planning, that's been on the table for many years and it hasn't been addressed. So we're going to have to address some of those things. But there's no reason to point fingers about it not getting done. We just got to do it, and everybody has an opportunity to move that agenda forward. So please vote for me November the 3rd. I really do want to continue to work hard for this city and make it a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And Bev, now you have 2 minutes.
Okay. When I was I started Neighborhood Watch about 10 years ago, and there's a gentleman, John Sneeder, he's been taking over and doing this now, and he is having several meetings and stuff. He's trying to get the community to work together, and so far so good. And I'm hearing so many complaints about the drug issues, and it is really bad. I know when I was on the council before, I was just one vote. And a lot of times, that's why it took me so long to get a curfew. But there needs to be some changes on there. And I think if I'm in there, I can be a really pain in their side. But no, we have to work together. They argue sometimes, but we manage to work it out. But we fight for our country, and we ought to fight for our community and make it a better place to live. So I hope you vote for me.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you all. This has been a conversation with candidates for the Riverside City Council. They're all competing for 2 places on the council. I want to thank you for tuning in and remind you to vote on November 3rd. It's a right, it's a privilege, and in my opinion, it is a duty. Starting about the first week of October, I think the week of October 5th, the League of Women Voters Voters Guide will be available at public libraries and a lot of other places. If you can't find one, call the office and we'll make sure you get one. The office number is 228-4041. That's the office number for the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton Area. It's a number worth remembering because For a period of time, starting about 2 weeks before the election, we maintain a hotline to help voters. We can help you with where your polling place is, possibly has been changed, what identification you need. We've usually got the answers to your questions. You can also visit our website, which is lwvdayton.org. And thank you for being with us today.